Hi, my name is Rick Davis. I grew up all over the United States, and I work as a director of operations for Eclipse Aerospace, which is based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I deal with all the internal coordination between our departments, between our service center, our engineering, production, and supply chain organizations, as well as all the coordination with our outside service centers. So I typically start off about 7 o'clock in the morning calling a service center in England, and then one in Germany, and then finish out the day 7 or so at night, between 6 and 7, having a discussion with the service center in Singapore. So it's interesting. What it entails is having a common language. So engineers speak a very specific language, and by education, I am a mechanical engineer, and then so I get along well with the engineers and understand their thought processes and their objectives. And then the mechanics in the shop are actually similar to the engineers, but more action oriented. Interestingly, I paid my way through college by working as a mechanic for a company. I was a fleet mechanic and worked in auto parts shops, but that I work well and understand the mechanics mindset actually probably better than anything else. And the supply chain, again, very different language. Their contract schedules, and that one I usually need some help with, but I try and communicate what our objectives are and help them get to the same place that, it, you know, something cheaper but later than we need it is not useful. So they've got to be on time. I've always been a car and, let's say, machine guy, aviation or airplane guy. I like the machines and I liked working on them. So that got my interest in, uh, we'll just go with machines. And then from there, engineering seemed like a pretty natural progression. So that's what I focused on in college. And then I graduated into a pretty bad economy, long time ago, but in a very bad spot. Ended up in the construction industry just to get a job, and I spent 30 years in construction, ending up in high-tech construction, working for semiconductor companies and traveling around the world managing projects. Never really did any engineering. It was all these managing uh, construction workers, contractors, and working with the owners to help them achieve their goals where they have an idea but really don't know how to implement it. So from there, I lived in Asia, lived in Europe, lived all over the United States doing that, got married later in life. And when my first daughter was born, I decided I didn't want to try and raise her in Kazakhstan. And I didn't really want to be away from her for 3 years at a time. And had the opportunity to come to work for Eclipse, and I've been here ever since. So I ended up back in aerospace after 25 years in construction. I went to high school in Dallas, Texas, and extracurricular was, again, cars. Had a bunch of friends that we all worked on cars together, built hot rods, did all sorts of stuff, and I worked at a automotive shop again as a part-time job. So that was very much, I feel like, on the path of what I enjoyed and what I did. I was never great at math. Which I've always considered engineering more of an application than less of a theoretical, but uh, that really depends on what you're doing. And I never did great in the math subjects in high school or in college. I'm probably better now than I was ever then. I never ended up where I wanted to be, but I never had a bad time along the trip. So just focus not on the goal, but on what you're doing right now and trying to enjoy what you're doing, even if it's not necessarily what you want to do.